Level 1. The Academy. You are 23 years old, and you raised your right hand 6 weeks ago and meant every word. You joined because you wanted to do something real in a world that felt abstract. Something where the outcome of your day was visible and the work was tangible, and the difference between doing it well and doing it poorly was immediate and concrete. That motivation is genuine. It will be complicated by everything that follows. The Academy is 6 months of physical conditioning, legal instruction, firearms qualification, defensive tactics, and scenario training that tries to compress the chaos of human crisis into something teachable. Some of it transfers, some of it doesn't, and you'll find out which is which at 2 a.m. on a call that no scenario prepared you for. You qualify with your weapon. You pass your written exams. You graduate in a ceremony where a chief pins your badge and your family is in the seats and your mother takes more photographs than any moment requires. You look at the badge in your hand and it is heavier than it looks. That is not a metaphor. It is a fact. You will think about it later as both. Level 2. The Rookie. Field Training. A senior officer rides with you for 12 weeks and evaluates everything you do and some of what you think. You respond to calls and debrief every response, and the debrief is often harder than the call because the call required action and the debrief requires honesty about whether your action was correct. Your first violent call is a domestic disturbance on a Tuesday night in a house you've driven past 100 times without knowing what happens inside it. You knock on a door and a woman answers, and the situation is immediately more complicated than the dispatcher described. And you make a decision in 3 seconds with the information available. And the decision is the right one, and you won't know that until later. You go home after the shift and sit on your couch and replay it. You replay it 4 more times before you sleep. You go back the next day. You learn the streets, not the map, the streets themselves. Which block gets loud after midnight? Which address generates calls every other week? Which faces you'll see repeatedly and in what contexts, and what those contexts mean. The city becomes a text you're always reading. Level 3. The Patrol Officer. You know the job now. You respond to calls that range from genuinely dangerous to genuinely heartbreaking to genuinely absurd, sometimes within the same hour. You develop the ability to shift registers quickly, to be fully present in a crisis and then to set it down and respond to the next call and then set that down. That ability is not coldness. It is the mechanism that makes the job survivable. You will spend years explaining that distinction to people who confuse the two. You build relationships in your district. A convenience store owner who tells you things that are useful. An elderly woman who calls about a noise complaint every Thursday, and what she actually needs is someone to check on her. A teenager you've spoken to 6 times, who is standing at a fork you recognize, and whose direction you cannot determine, but whose direction matters. You check on the teenager. Sometimes it helps. Sometimes it doesn't. You check on them anyway. You accumulate things that don't leave you at the end of a shift. A child removed from a home. A body in an apartment that had been there for days before anyone noticed. A car accident where you were the first person to arrive and the last person those inside ever saw. You carry these without a clean place to put them. The department offers resources. You don't use them yet. Most people don't until they have to. Level 4. The Detective. You're 30. You moved off patrol and into investigations. The pace is different. Patrol is reactive, call to call, present tense. Investigations are slower and require a different kind of attention. You are building a case, assembling a picture from fragments that don't initially appear connected, and every fragment has to be documented in a way that survives a courtroom. Your first homicide case takes 9 months. You work it alongside a senior detective who has solved 40 homicides in 18 years, and who communicates primarily in questions that he already knows the answer to. You learn to sit with grieving families and ask questions they don't want to answer, and to do it with enough care that they understand the questions are the path toward the thing they need. Closure is a word people use. What they actually need is a name. You get the name. The case goes to trial. You testify. The defense attorney cross-examines you for 2 hours on your methodology and your documentation, and one decision you made in month 3 that looked different under courtroom lighting than it looked on a Tuesday morning in the field. You answer every question. The jury convicts. You drive home and feel something that isn't exactly satisfaction and isn't exactly relief. Something that acknowledges the gap between what was lost and what was recovered. Level 5. The sergeant. You supervise a squad of 8 officers. You are the person they call when a situation escalates beyond their training or their confidence or their ability to make a decision alone at midnight with someone's life in the variable. You are the decision they defer to and the standard they're measured against, and the first person the lieutenant asks when something on your watch requires explaining. You manage performance. You write evaluations that have to be accurate and that carry weight in people's careers, and that require you to say difficult things to people you work beside every day. You counsel an officer whose personal life is affecting their work in ways that are visible to everyone except the officer. That conversation happens in your office with the door closed, and it is one of the hardest conversations the job asks you to have, and it is not the hardest. Level 6. The lieutenant. The administration grows. Budget meetings, scheduling, policy implementation handed down from above that you translate into practice for the people below. You are the layer between command decisions and street reality, and the translation is never perfect because command decisions are made in conference rooms and street reality is made on sidewalks at 3 a.m. And those two environments have different vocabularies. You respond to a shooting involving one of your officers. You secure the scene. You notify the chain of command. You make sure your officer has representation before any statement is given. You do everything the protocol requires. The investigation takes 4 months. The outcome is what the evidence supports. You sit with your officer through all of it, and you remember what it means to be judged on a 3-second decision by people with unlimited time to evaluate it. Level 7. The captain. A precinct. Yours. The culture of this building is your responsibility now. Every use of force complaint, every community meeting, every press inquiry after a critical incident comes to your desk before it goes anywhere else. You represent the department at community forums where people ask hard questions that deserve honest answers, and you give them answers that are honest and incomplete because complete honesty would require information you cannot release, and that tension is permanent. Level 8. The deputy chief. Citywide. Policy. Reform initiatives. Negotiations with city council over budget and staffing. The distance between this office and the street is measurable in ways that trouble you. You make decisions that affect how officers you've never met respond to situations you can't anticipate, and you make them with the information available, which is never enough. Level 9. The chief. The whole department. Every use of force. Every critical incident. Every officer's conduct reflects back to this office. You brief the mayor. You testify before city council. You face cameras after things go wrong, and the things that go wrong are the ones that define how the public sees everything that goes right. You serve the institution and the community simultaneously, and those two loyalties are not always aligned, and the misalignment is something you manage every single day. Level 10, the retired. You are 55. Your knees ache from 30 years of patrol boots on concrete. You have a pension and a shadow box and a number in your phone that still has 23 officers in it who will answer when you call. A 2-3-year-old just raised their right hand and meant every word. They want to do something real, something where the outcome is visible. They have no idea what visible costs. They'll find out. They always do. The cycle continues. Subscribe to stay with us. Every video is another level. And drop a comment below. Tell us what level you're at right now. We read every single one.